Welcome back to Sketch Today. I'm Spencer Nugent, your host, and today we'll be sketching something that's been requested of me many times and something that I've just completely forgotten about doing, which is how to sketch a speedboat. Now, if you've watched my previous video, how to draw anything, the techniques that I use here will sound really familiar. If not, just go back and take a quick peek at that. I'll try to throw a link in to that video so you know what I'm talking about. In any case, let's get into it. I'll show you just kind of how I go about designing or drawing something I've never done before. And I will tell you, I've never sketched one of these before. So this will be as much a learning experience for me as it will be for you. But let's get into it and I'll show you how I go about doing that. Now, the first thing I like to do when sketching something unfamiliar is just to familiarize myself with it. Creation isn't about pulling stuff out of nowhere, but rather understanding the pieces, the constraints, and trying to figure it out. So I've done a little bit of homework in looking at a few speedboats and just kind of trying to understand how they're put together, what the main parts are, and why they are the way they are. So that being said, Google is your friend. If you want to look up pictures and images for reference, that is totally cool. So because I'm not really sure how this is going to work out, I'm going to use a pencil to sketch with. I'm using my Prismacolor Premier and my very thin pencils. We'll maybe throw some marker on, but for now I'm just going to focus on pencil and being somewhat gestural, using a technique like till you get it right to figure this out. Now, the first thing I'll do is just kind of look at the proportion of a speedboat. So here I am in side view, and I'm going to do something that looks like this. So this being the front of the boat to the left, and here's my little area where whoever's going to sit. So if I look from the top view and try and figure this out, okay, draw a center line. So I'm going to end up with, I think, something like this, some sort of wedge shape. Now, for you boat designers out there, forgive me. Like I said, I don't know entirely what I'm doing, but I'm going to do my best to sketch something that feels like a speedboat. Okay, so here's where me and my buddies will sit. Okay, maybe there's some seats around in here. Okay, this is just the top view, and perhaps this pokes out a little bit. My engine for my boat and drive and all that, I'm going to say it's below water. So if this were the water right here, that's kind of how my boat's going to sit. But I do have this little seating area. Now, the first thing you need to do, just move my table there, wow. First thing you need to do, let's zoom in here a little bit, is decide what your point of view will be or how you're looking at this boat. So if this is my water right here, right, I can have something like this as my frame in which to sketch my boat. Or if the boat were below my eye level, it would look something like this, right? There's the frame. So let's go ahead and do both, right? Not on the same page, of course, but I'm going to start with this main view here. So what I've sketched is a box that represents essentially a box. I'll do this in red so you can see. That represents this proportion in 3 dimensions. So I'm ending up with something proportionally speaking like that. Okay, so that's what this box that I've lightly sketched in represents. And in this box, I can sketch my top profile. I can also look at my side profile here and then try and match toward the back. And that's how I would quickly sketch this out. So starting with my middle profile, just nice and light with my pencil, I can sketch that in all the way to the back, okay? And then also sketch in the top. I've got lots of pencils here, sharpened and ready so I can see what I'm doing. And this is a tricky perspective because, the top of this bounding box isn't very visible. So if I were trying to sketch in hulls, for example, or shapes of my hull, it's really hard to get that right. But this is going to kind of trail off here, right, to the back of my boat. like so. And let's say I have some sort of feature line on my boat. I can sketch that in, add some shadow, come in and crisp that line up, okay? Now we've got to get our little seating area here. So again, because I'm looking at it from this perspective, which is both above and below my horizon line, okay, so my water is probably something like this around here as it sits in the water. I really won't see much of this cabin, but perhaps just a little bit of a detail of where that seating area is, okay? Because that would exist right in here and totally wrap around onto the other side. Okay, so that's one view of the boat in perspective. Another view is, well, what if I'm now looking at this thing top down? Okay, well, I do the same thing, sketch a bounding box, sketch the top profile, like so, center line. Okay, you could even get a plane in for the middle, sketch that middle design line in, and then just kind of lightly rough in some hulls. By hull I mean kind of the shell of the boat and what that looks like as it moves to the back, and then have this line wrap down, okay, for the back of our boat. And there is the hull of my boat. And let's go ahead and divide. I think this could be a little bit longer actually. So I'm going to take this point and just move it out to here. And now I can just sketch in a nice strong line there. And the way the human eye works, at least as far as visual communication goes, is when you have two lines on a page and one's darker than the other, your eye will gravitate toward the line with the more contrast on the page. And that'll give you, or give rather that detail presence and let the other details fade away. So here's my line for this seating area, and I can wrap this around. Same thing here. And this little line is just telling me where to kind of come down with that windscreen or visor, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and remember in our top-down design we had this kind of seating arrangement down in here, so I can show that from my top view by just cutting in a little bit like so. Okay, and show the bottom of the boat in there too. And this little line is just a contour line. I can shade that in right there. And maybe this is my control area as the driver. Okay, so there's my general shape of my boat. Let me just sharpen a few of these. I got a new pencil sharpener because my old one broke, unfortunately. Alright, so here we go. Line work. With pencil, line work's really important to have a nice, clean, sharp pencil to get those nice, bold lines in. And these lines are going to help me really define and show the shape of this thing on the page, okay? And my lines are nice and fresh and crisp, and that's what you want, nice, quick, decisive lines with your pencil, okay? And the reason for that is with pencil, it's easy to hesitate and get caught up in what I call fuzzy shading. And you really don't want that, okay? You want to have nice, clean, controlled lines as you're shading. So I'm being lazy here, not sharpening these pencils. But you can see those lines are a little fuzzier than the rest. Now, because I'm using a Prismacolor Premier pencil, I can do some shading tricks, and especially because this is marker paper, or sorry, tracing paper rather, I can do like a background of water. Again, I haven't done this before, so we'll see if we can get this to work as a background. And I'm just trying to introduce some nice flowy lines here for a simple background element. I kind of like that, so I'm going to keep with it, okay? Maybe a little bit darker toward the boat. And then for the actual boat itself, I'm not sure what colors boats typically come in because I don't have one. I don't go into boats very often. But I'm going to say that my boat is red. Okay, and I've got with me here just this nice Copic red marker. I flip my marker paper, and for this section in the middle here, just kind of fill in and shade this. You know, if it's glossy, it's going to have some reflected light happening through there. So just varying that marker stroke. And then right where I would get my shadow core and so forth, I can hit it again on the front of the tracing paper, like so. And with a little bit of marker, or sorry, a little bit of pencil, just in those shadow core areas. Can really punch that. For my seating area, because it's dropped down, flip the tracing paper, and I'm just going to shade this all in gray. And that gives me kind of a base tone to work with. And with a little bit of pencil work, come in and add those details that I had from the top view rather. Okay, and if we wanted to, looks like some boats have this kind of foil thing here. We could add that in. It's really lightly here, and then now I can punch it with my Prismacolor pencil. Shadow core, quick shade, and shadow on the underside here. And a little bit of shading on the hull as well. And I really like this pencil technique on tracing paper because you kind of get the texture of the paper flowing through, or coming through rather. On the water, I'm just going to add a few lines. Again, I've never done this before, so If this doesn't work, that's okay. Next time I'll know better than to try something like this, but I kind of like it. And don't be afraid to mix materials, right? So if for some reason we want to add some marker just to pop this pencil line on the bottom, I can use my Sharpie here. Just come in over my pencil and it'll make it kind of pop a little bit more. Same thing on the top here. And I'm actually just shading right outside the pencil line, not over the pencil. So just because you started drawing in marker or pencil doesn't mean you have to stick with that specific tool. You can vary your tools and try different techniques. And as I always tell my students, as long as it looks good, we're good. So feel free to try different techniques and methods to see if you can achieve a desired result. Okay, so that's how I'd go from, sketching out the general proportion of a boat. Here's one perspective that you could sketch it in. Here's another perspective as well that this could be sketched in, right? Forgot our little detail here on the side, so try and capture that here real quick. Okay, so there's my little hull detail. The line sketched in. Of course, every boat has some sort of numbers on it for whatever reason. Again, you boat people understand more than I do, but if I wanted to sketch a boat, that's kind of what I would do, okay? Well, thanks again for joining me. It's been really fun. I really enjoy doing this, and I hope you enjoy watching too. So if you do, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button or this little button on screen, and you typically at the beginning of the video. And that way you'll be the first to know when I post and what I post. Also, you can find me on Instagram for other sketches that I post at sketchaday.com on Instagram, or on facebook.com/sketchaday. You can find me there. I may have a surprise for you guys this week. I may be doing a bonus video. So I know it's Thursday, but hang tight. We'll see what tomorrow will bring. Thanks guys, and we'll be back again on Sketchaday.